New car from WRT, which had topped several sessions leading into qualifying last night, but an ill-timed red, as you said, John, prevented them from putting a time in one of the qualifying sessions. That means they will be starting towards the back of the field. It's a fast car. They've proven that. Now they're trying to dial it in as far as having a good race car and a car that can work in traffic, because they're going to be mired in it basically for 24 hours.
Well, I've got a great stat.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of stats, but this one's a great one. The 32 Audi can win the race. It only has to overtake a single car every 26 minutes of the race to take victory. Now, that's a big ask. Alessandro Pierguidi get onto the facts in the 51 and links Ferrari, backs out of it and comes into the pits. Oh, he's not. He's taken another. Well, that was an interesting line. Obviously, just wanting to find a little bit of track space. That Ferrari currently 7th quickest. Philip Ellis has done a great job on the Mercedes 57, up to 2nd quickest. Mirko Bortolotti, Dries van Thor round out the 2nd row, or 3rd and 4th quickest, I should say.
On the subject of the Audi, if memory serves, it's been since 2017, the last time there was an Audi overall win at the TotalEnergies 24 Hours of Le Mans, and every iteration of Audi, barring this Evo version of the R8, has won at one point or another in its lifespan here. This is the last chance, because there is a second Evo coming next year. That car is on display in the paddock here at Spa, and Chris Renke and the rest of the Audi Brain Trust, they are well aware of that stat. They want to see this car go out on a high, at least as far as the single Evo is concerned for the R8 LMS GT3.
Well, they've got great partners at WRT, Attempt to Santa Lock Racing, and great driver lineups, stellar driver lineups in the case of some of the cars. So those teams will be working, although they're individual, they will be working as part of that Audi family. And it is an Audi victory. Whether it's one of the 3 teams or not, it doesn't matter. It's the Audi victory that is the key. So there is the 32 driven by Dries van Thor, currently 3rd quickest on a 2 minutes 20.016. Let's sort of look at the gravel now. We saw that last night in qualifying, gravel getting kicked up on the exit of Les Combes. Again, not as much as previously, but still always a concern when those sort of sharp edge parts of the gravel get kicked onto the racetrack. Easy way to run down a tire.
Philip Ellis, by the way, jumping to 2nd in the Silver Cup entry from Winwood Racing. That is one of the 20 cars that will attempt Superpole, I believe. And it's been a remarkable season for that team already. They've got a 24-hour race win under their belts going back to Daytona in January. What a feather in the cap it would be, even if it's a class win and not overall, to come away with 2 of the blue ribbon events in endurance racing in one season. They're fast enough. The lineup is good enough. They can get it done this weekend.
I mean, if they could manage to get that sort of double blue ribbon event, would be, as you point out, I mean, a significant. I'm just sort of being distracted by Dries van Thor running track limit. It would be a significant achievement. And this is, I mean, Daytona, I know, is a very hard 24-hour race. I've taken part in it on a couple of occasions. But racing here at Spa-Francorchamps is a different level because of its road circuit nature and the rise and fall, and the fact that you're running up one side of a valley and then back up the other side of the valley. I know at night time it gets dark, but there's a difference in darkness. A lot of ambient light around Daytona. There ain't any ambient light around here unless the moon is out bright and shining. And, well, I doubt it right now, looking skyward.
And also at Daytona, maybe 15, 16 cars in their class. It's much higher than that here, especially when you consider the fact that every car in this field is a GT3 car. It comes down to the drivers to be able to execute. It's a real challenge, and one of the unique challenges in endurance racing GT3 here at the TotalEnergies 24 Hours of Spa.
Just up over radio on Dries van Thor. Car looks planted. It looks really stable. Looks very, very good indeed. So still 3rd quickest time overall. Looking to see whether there's any further improvement. One would imagine that when he went out on a set of rubber, we talk about it all the time. It's normally your 1st or 2nd flying lap where you will get the best performance. So a little bit of a camera break up as they come through Les Combes, and then the run down the hill into Brussels. And well, Christian Engelhardt now in the Dynamic Motorsport Porsche. So Christian Engelhardt makes his way steadily, probably actually on the limit, but it looks very steady to me, through Speaker's Corner. Car looks perfect on the exit. So race car setup and qualifying car setup probably not a million miles apart, other than you'd want to make the race car a little bit more comfortable to take into account the potential changing weather conditions that will occur over 24 hours of motor racing.
What will you do to the setup of the car to not necessarily compromise your ultimate lap speed as far as the dry running is concerned, but to plan ahead, knowing it is Spa and rain is very likely, to have some of that built in to your setup at the start of the race?
I mean, I call it compliance. You make a car that across, in the case of Porsche there, the three drivers, that they're all fundamentally able to drive the car to their particular or personal limits. It is a mistake, and I've been a victim of this one time, where a teammate changed a car overnight back to the way he thought it should be and didn't pass that information on. So when I got into the car, it was impossible for me to drive. Now that would be what I consider wholly irresponsible, and frankly, if I was running a team and that occurred, the driver would be put on notice. So what you're looking for are a car, or is a car, all three drivers are comfortable behind, and of course, as it most likely will be, wet, dry, park wet, park dry. Goodness knows whatever else is going to be confronting these drivers, these competitors. You want what I call a compliant car, not a nervy, twitchy, front nose type single-seater, high suspension settings. Just make it that everybody can drive it and doesn't frightening yourself here at Spa means you're going to do one thing, and that's drive slowly.
It doesn't sound fun at all. This is a great look at Maxi Goods in the number 50 machine. Hub Auto Corsa, the team, based out of Taiwan, with a wonderful throwback livery dating back to the 1971 24 Hours of Spa runner-up, the 300 SEL 6.8, a car that really helped put AMG on the map at the time, winning a high-profile event like this one 50 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was based on a production car on the 300 SEL. It was then the 6.3. It was the production capacity of the engine. They took it out to 6.8 litres. I mean, it was an absolute horse of a race car. The most unlikely race car, but they made it work. Hans Heyer and Clemens Schickentanz, two great German race drivers from the 70s, managed to get that car from the start to the finish, and I mean, it's just gone down in Mercedes legend.
And that car has had a reshuffle of the driver lineup in relatively recent weeks, with Nicky Katzberg being drafted in to fill in for Jelmer Berman. That's an interesting situation. Nicky Katzberg drives for Corvette in the States. He's a BMW factory driver. He's a Hyundai touring car driver, driving a Mercedes this weekend.
Yeah, driver for rent. I mean,
right.
Nicky Katzberg, I think, is an outstanding competitor, and he's working across different formats. So interesting to see what he thinks of the Mercedes AMG GT3 as we look at Mirko Bortolotti. I think it was, yes, it is Bortolotti, you can see on the loony rack on the windscreen. So that car currently fourth quickest out of the times, about 2 minutes 20.115. So a little bit of an adjustment on the Lamborghini, and Bortolotti will go back out again.
On board with, I believe, the Inception Racing McLaren, Ollie Milroy at the wheel. It is a busy program for Inception Racing in Endurance Cup in Europe, racing in the States, GT Open. They're going to be racing at Le Mans later on as well. Just a whole lot of racing for Ollie and Brendan Reeve, who is his co-driver more often than not. And they drafted in Jordan Pepper to be part of the lineup here this weekend. He is an ace, no question.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just wondering what Ollie was doing. He took a very slow entry into the final two turns and pulled immediately over to the middle of the racetrack to let all those behind get through. So I don't know whether he's sorting out some gremlins in the car as we look at the Sky Tempesta Ferrari, and down almost now at the lowest point of the circuit, down into Stavolo, or into, actually this is Campus. This is the first part of what is a two-part corner now, Stavolo itself. And then running wide over the Paul Frère Cobb. Paul Frère, very famous Belgian journalist and exceedingly talented race driver who competed both in Le Mans and Formula One. Very, very successful journalist, racing driver. Don't get many of those these days. So it's Eddie Cheever Jr. behind the wheel. Normally we get a view of Eddie's dancing feet between the brake pedal, left foot braker of course, and back on the throttle. So he's back into the pits. 11.5 minutes remaining.
I hesitate to correct you, but I think this is Eddie the Third, Eddie Jr. being the 1998 Indy 500 winner, this being the son of
It is.
the second Eddie.
Yes, it is. But I don't think Eddie... Well, Eddie Cheever Jr. I competed with.
Right.
So this is Eddie Cheever the Third, indeed.
Races under an Italian flag. His father actually spent a great deal of his time in Italy, and
Yes.
Eddie the Third has done the same and has proven to be a great tandem with Chris Froggatt and that Sky Tempesta team. They've been very, very good in GT World Challenge Europe competition. 10 minutes left in warm-up. Marciello and Ellis 1 and 2. That's Mercedes in the top 2 spots. Then Dries Vanthoor's Audi. Mirko Bortolotti showing some strength for Lamborghini. They've been a bit quieter than I anticipated as a manufacturer, it would seem to me. What are your assessments of what we've seen out of the Raging Bull thus far at Spa?
Well, we've seen performances. Certainly we saw Andrea Caldarelli getting very frustrated during, I think it was part one of the qualifying, when the car got delayed at the very last minute in the final 2 turns. Then Andrea was out, did stellar sector times, and again, he lost out. So it is an awful lot about the luck of the draw in qualifying.
No question about that, and it did not go the way of a number of these competitors. That certainly is one. Here's Lawrence Vanthoor. We've talked about his brother Dries, who's currently 3rd in the Audi. These are 2 of the local favorites, no question. Belgian racing drivers that have each achieved a great deal of success. I think Dries has emerged from the shadow of his brother at this stage, and there's certainly family bragging rights at stake here on home turf.
Absolutely, but talk about bragging rights. Who's gone quickest? It's a Ferrari. Alessandro Pierguidi, fastest overall by 13 thousandths of a second. And Ben Barnicoat, likewise in the Jota McLaren, he's leapt up into 4th quickest time. So with what, just under 10 minutes of the session remaining, teams maybe now coming in, having done the initial outlap, bring the car in, give it a quick eyeball, make sure everything is correct. There's no little mini leaks or things that can just be problematic. Put on a fresher set of tyres. So Ferrari quickest, Mercedes 2nd, Mercedes 3rd, McLaren 4th, Audi 5th, Lamborghini still the time set by Marco Bertolotti a little bit earlier in the session. Maro Engel pops up into 7th place. Lawrence Vanthoor up into 9th, changing as cars come across start-finish line.
What we expect in a session like this, so many talented drivers up and down this lineup. Let's remind you of the 20 that will be taking part in Super Bowl coming up shortly after the conclusion of this section of the evening here. We're getting a little side-by-side first. Why don't you tell us what you saw there, John, as I look down at my sheet?
Yeah, well, the Audi and the Porsche, or the Gulf Porsche, came out of the last turn side-by-side. And whether there was a little bit of angst going on, but anyway, the Porsche, the Martini Porsche, has gotten clear of the Audi. That's the Gulf-sponsored Audi. But it was just, you know, do you want to be doing that sort of thing in a warm-up? But racing drivers are racing drivers. Ricardo Fella all over the exit at the back end of the radio crest, gets the car virtually 4 wheels off the racetrack, but gathers it all back up. Ricardo Fella had been in the top 10. I'm just looking to see where he is. Well, he is now currently in 10th position overall.
And he was a star in qualifying. He has one of the 3 Emile Frey racing cars that advanced to Super Bowl. He will be driving one of them. That's the 14. We'll also have the 114 with Jack Aitken making his 24 Hours of Spa debut. He's been nominated to qualify in Super Bowl. And then the sister 163 car, Albert Costa, slated to join that one. CMR has their Bentley in the top 20 after yesterday.
Sorry, I'm just watching Ricardo Fella. On this lap, there's been about 3 parts of the racetrack. I've said Ricardo Fella's got a right handful behind the wheel of the Emile Frey Lamborghini. And now, I talked about having a car that makes your job easy. Compliance. At the minute, that looks to me a nervy, twitchy race car, not a compliant race car.
Might that be a qualifying setup, knowing that he's going to be going out here shortly for Super Bowl?
It's a possibility. It's a good thought. I mean, they may well be looking at using the warm-up as their platform to launch a potential pole position time. So, and is that I thought I saw rain spots. Something caught on the camera lens.
Might have been just a little bit of rain. Not a surprise here at Spa. The weather always changing, and definitely some dark clouds starting to roll over the circuit here, at least in front of our position. Quickly to run through the other cars that will be participating in Superpole. CMR, as mentioned, their Bentley, Pierre-Alexandre Jean will be driving. Garage 59 will have the number 95 car with Nicky Thiem behind the wheel. ACA ASP will have the 89 driven by Felipe Fraga. Sister car, the 88, Raffaele Marciello will be driving. This is a look at that Bentley.
Yeah, Pierre-Alexandre Jean, personal best, sector 1 and 2. Currently 41st. One suspects he might be making a little bit of further progress, and he does. He's up to 5th place. In the meantime, Mathieu Jaminet in the 22 Porsche gone second quickest. Ricardo Feller got up to 3rd. Now we've got Alexander Pierre-Jean in the Bentley in 5th place, and we know what the Bentley is capable of doing when it comes to getting down the long uphill Camel Straight.
And that's a Silver Cup lineup that could be an overall top 5 contention based on the pace they've shown so far. Thomas Drouet will be in Superpole, also in a Silver Cup entry from ACA ASP. Iron Lynx has nominated Davide Rigon to drive the 71. Attempto will have a Mattia Drudi behind the wheel of the 66 Audi. Orange One FFF Racing Team, we saw that Lambo back in the garage. Mirko Bortolotti will be qualifying that car.
And Mirko Bortolotti's just gone quickest.
Well, that's
as
perfect
you
timing.
speak, the time comes to 2 minutes 19.367, 4 thousandths quicker than the prancing horse from Maranello, Alessandro Pierguidi. So battle is formed between the two Italian brands, and you could barely get them any closer than 4 thousandths of a second. This is warm-up after all, but you made a very good point that maybe the teams that are into the top 20 shootout are not really going through the motions of just making sure everything's fine. They're doing a pre-shootout shootout.
Well, if this is any kind of preview, you're not going to want to go anywhere when David Addison slides in alongside John. We're going to have some fun, and we might be doing it in the rain as the clouds continue to roll over. Just a few more driver names to roll through. Windward Racing's Philip Ellis, Alessandro Pierguidi for Iron Lynx, Lawrence Van Thor for KCMG, Ben Barnicoat for Joda, who's been fast in this session, Nico Moeller for WRT, Thomas Neubauer for Valkenhorst, along with his teammate Sheldon Vanderlinde, and Mathieu Jaminet, I think, along with Marno Engel, the other drivers nominated to take part in Superpole very soon.
Yeah, Mirko Bortolotti in a hurry, coming out of Pujon, wanted to get ahead of the sister Lamborghini into Fagna or flip-flop. Well, Lamborghini seemed to have found a pace that we didn't see consistently last night. Your man, Ricardo Feller.
He's impressive, isn't he? I think he's made a name for himself in recent years, and he just went P1 in the number 14 for Emil Frey Racing, ahead of Bortolotti by half a second.
Yes, and I think that's an outstanding effort, but I will qualify it by saying I suspect that the Emil Frey team may have used either a new set of rubber or something according close to that, because he found over half a second advantage over Bortolotti. You would not normally expect to see that gain in time unless there's something black and round that's fresher than your competitors. So I would not take anything away from Ricardo Feller, but I would say that's probably a result of a change to a fresher tire. Nevertheless, great effort. Davide Rigon, likewise in the Ferrari, lines up in this warm-up session 7th behind Jack Aiken, who again is doing an amazing job in the Emil Frey Lamborghini.
The top 20 as they run here in warm-up effectively, with a few exceptions, but that's basically your top 20 advancing to Superpole. So what that tells me is those on the outside of Superpole, they're in race running mode. They're running more conservatively. They're running like they will run when the race gets started tomorrow. But those that need to go fast very soon to try and chase pole position, or at least lock in an advantageous starting position, their focus right now is on Superpole. Mirko Bortolotti, personal best, Sector 1.
Yeah, very important for Bortolotti to see if they can drag any further time out of the 63.
And so far, so good on this lap for Mirko. As mentioned, a nice opening sector there, personal best. Needs to find a significant chunk of time, though, to get to fellow Lamborghini driver Ricardo Feller. See what he's got in his back pocket. Coming through Pujon here, on board with Mirko Bortolotti.
Well, he's clawed back a certain amount of time on that first sector, coming very shortly to the conclusion of Sector 2 through Fagna or flip-flop, whichever choose to call it. Having to make a correction on the exit now on the brakes down into Campos Corner. Don't overrun the exit. There's gravel on the outside. Then swing the car in, make your apex. The car will automatically begin to four-wheel drift. Have you forgotten what a four-wheel drift is? Well, watch a GT3 car. Now, up the hill. Watch skyward. Just check, make sure there's no raindrops on the windscreen before you commit to Blanchimont. Flat as a kipper through there, the best part of 260 kilometers per hour. Then throw out the old anchors. Get the car in. Don't overrun on the entry. Good transition from right to left. Now, pick up the throttle. Traction control is available. Drivers use their foot maybe as much. Stays in second place, but the gap has come down to just under 0.2 of a second. So good improvement, but not enough to take that provisional.
Right.
Listen, look who's gone third.
Third place
Fourth,
to
right.
Albert Costa. That's another Lamborghini. Look at Italy represented in the top 4 positions as far as manufacturers are concerned. Lamborghini, Ferrari, Lamborghini ahead of the first Porsche.
Doing it at the right time, so they're getting their preparation in before we go into the top 20 shootout. Nico Müller in the 17, Audi down in... Sorry, the 37 now down in 17th position. Striking artwork on that car. Again, the strikers, Audi, and so he's going to find a little bit of time, a little bit of pace and time. Currently, 1.7 seconds away from that quickest lap by Ricardo Fellow.
Checkered flag is out on the session. You mentioned the artwork on this car. This is one of a handful, 4 I believe, of the Audi cars that are in special liveries commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. This one evidently inspired by Belgian comic book heroes like Tintin, as well as Gaston and of course Michel Vaillant. And there are 3 others, I believe, with different other inspirations from the art world, and also recognizing Belgium and Spa specifically, and all of them are breathtaking.
Well, it certainly brings a uniqueness to this event, and again, recognition for the particular sport that they want to identify these cars with. So up into Blanchimont, a little bit on the tail happy side as they come up into the final 2 turns. Now, will Müller want to complete this lap, or will he have been slightly... Well, he might well do. Yes, he is going to go on so he can improve on that 17th position. He's made up ground in the first 2 sectors. Albert Costa, by the way, has just gone 4th quickest.
Costa very, very quick.
Müller goes up 1 place.
Yep, he does improve somewhat, but that Audi's still off of the ultimate pace. Dries Vanthoor in the fastest of the Audis right now is all the way back in 13th spot. Still some cars still out there on flying laps. This is one of the Porsche contingents. Lutronic Racing, Sven Müller behind the wheel. Currently 21st place for the 21 car.
Just talking amongst the media, the press, their consensus is it's anybody's race, so that's a good start. We all knew that. But if it is a wet track race, or certainly wet dry, but particularly on the Sunday, everybody looks at the Porsche, the 911R, to say, or GT3R, to give it a correct title. This or these are the cars that they suspect are most likely to be standing on the winner's podium.
And we saw that last year when the weather got bad, the Porsches came to the fore. It was certainly true going back 2 years ago, my first trip to Spa. Kevin Estre really stole the show in the opening stint, running some blistering laps in trying conditions in the wet. So Porsche, long renowned for its handling when conditions get bad, and there's nothing different about this version of the 911, the 911 GT3R. Around Blanchimont comes Sven Müller on his final flying lap here in the number 21 car for Lutronic through the chicane. Will he complete this lap? No, he will not. Heads to the pit lane, and there are still a few cars out on track, but the number has shrunk considerably. And now 38 cars go silent for the next several hours, and the top 20 will have to turn things around quickly to go qualifying in Superpole. There is the results provisionally here from warm-up with Lamborghini 1, 2, 4, split by a Ferrari before we get to the first of the German manufacturers. That is the Porsche, piloted by Mathieu Jaminet to that time in the 5th spot. Philip Ellis, impressive for Windward in 6th. You see Jack Aitken, very impressive also in his Lamborghini, 7th. Another Ferrari in 8th, Bentley 9th, Mercedes 10th and 11th. A little bit further down the running order here, and John, I think based on what we saw there in warm-up, we are in for a thrilling Super Pole. There are 20 cars that I think feel like they've got a chance to fight for it when we turn them loose, and who knows, the weather might throw a spanner into the works.
Well, all I can hope for, and I've just had a message from the pit lane to say it's raining.
Oh boy.
So the rain will only, I suspect, get worse as the Super Pole unfolds. I would like it to be constant wet or constant dry to give everybody the same opportunity to fight for that pole position for tomorrow's Total Experiences 24 Hours of Spa.
Well, we'll be turning our attention to Super Pole in just a few moments. Warm-up is complete at the TotalEnergies 24 Hours of Spa.
We know what the bulk of the grid is going to be like for the TotalEnergies 24 Hours of Spa, but we don't yet know the order of the top 20, but we are about to find out. Super Pole is always part and parcel of this great weekend. You give the 20 fastest cars one driver and a new set of tyres and let them loose. For 2 laps, you take your quicker time, and that is how we will determine the front 10 rows on the grid. And in cool conditions now, they've had the running in the warm-up session to, in some cases, work out exactly what a car feels like ready for the race. In others, to dial it in ready for Super Pole. And this is always a fascinating time because you take, as I say, one driver and you apply the pressure. The driver that gets pole position will tell you how important it is. The 19 vanquished will say, nah, it doesn't matter, it's a 24-hour race. But there's always something very special about seeing a driver on an absolutely committed, not quite one shot because they get 2, but in isolation, seeing the sectors pieced together. David Addison and John Watson, trackside Gemma Scott down in the pit lane, and the cars one by one in the reverse order of how they lined up in the classification yesterday will go out onto the circuit, and the spotlight will shine, John.
I'm going to suggest that the pole sitter will be Philip Ellis, car 57, because it is raining.
And he's the first to go.
He's the first to go.
Yeah.
So he's going to get the best of the dry track. There you can see the rain on the windscreen. So by the time we get to Raffaele Marciello, he's due on track at 11 minutes past 8 o'clock. He's going to be going on to what I would assume will be a totally wet track, most likely on a set of wet weather tyres, where possibly if Philip Ella can get out on track as quickly as possible, he might get a time on a set of dry weather slick tyres. I mean, it's a shame it's turned like this because, as I mentioned, I want to see drivers competing fairly and not being weather affected. And it looks like we're going to see the top 20 shootout weather affected.
The track is declared wet. The clouds above us, there's a little break in them. There's a bit of blue sky. Who knows what the weather is like around the circuit. This is the F1 pits, which is where we are based. In fact, not far from that Bentley garage, looking down onto it. Yes, the rain is falling. It could be much wetter out in the woods. It could be much drier. So the drivers get an out lap, 2 flying laps and an in lap. And that first lap is potentially very, very important to assess the grip levels. But yeah, if you go early, you could be in the box seats here.
You could be in the box seat. Also, you could be a pathfinder for the rest of the field, because As you point out, it could be raining as it is up in the pit lane, and it's what I would call the raindrops are large raindrops. It's not a soft Irish misty rain. These are large raindrops, and so you can see in the car, the track will gradually become darker in colour. Then you'll start seeing spray coming from the rear of the car, and then you'll have a car, it'll be like a speedboat.
Now, assuming that the conditions are comparable for most, this promises to be absolutely fascinating. Philip Ellis will be the first to go. You are given a start time, and so he will go at 19:52, so that's about 3 minutes away. Ben Barnicoat will go next in the Jota McLaren. Lawrence Vanthor will go for KCMG in the Porsche. Then, and this is the order of them, fourth to go is going to be Thomas Drouet in number 87, the ASP Mercedes. Fifth onto the track will be the Iron Lynx Ferrari Alessandro Pierguidi, and sixth Nico Müller in the Audi Sport Team WRT R8. Seventh will be Davide Rigon, Iron Lynx Ferrari. Eighth for ASP Felipe Fraga. Ninth for Emile Frey, having gone well in the warm-up, Ricardo Fella. 10th away, Mirko Bortolotti for Orange One FFF Racing Team. 11th will be Jack Aitken for Emile Frey. 12th, Albert Costa for Emile Frey. 13th, Mathieu Jaminet in the GPX Martini Racing Porsche. 14th to go for CMR will be Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Then 15th down the pit lane will be Thomas Neubauer for Valkenhorst, and teammate Sheldon van der Linde will be 16th. 17th to go, Maro Engel for the HRT House Racing Team
4,
squad.
3, 2, 1. Pit exit is green.
And the pit exit is green, says the race director, Alain Adol. So the drivers now need to be out. The first driver, Philip Ellis, within 2 minutes. Just to finish the order, 18th to go, Matteo Drudi for the Attempto Racing Audi Sport Team. 19th to go, Nicky Team in the Garage 59 Aston. That'll be worth watching. And 20th last to go, Raffaele Marciello, because that car topped the times at the end of the qualifying session on the combined average yesterday evening. So those are the 20 drivers that you're going to see. There is 51 Ferrari. Fifth to go, it will be Alessandro Pierguidi, and it's going to be slicks for Ben Barnicoat.
Certainly is at the moment, and well, the racetrack is, well, the rain continues to fall. It actually looks to me as marginally has eased, because we look, I suppose, more due east. The sky is not quite as thunderous as it looked, what, 5 minutes ago. So everybody's got to be prepared, and most likely 99% of everybody will be sitting in the pits. Car up on axle stands, last minute judgment, slicks, wets. Timing and scoring will tell drivers that they'll see on board cameras around the racetrack will pick up how bad or how easy the circuit has changed since they just came in about a few minutes ago from that 30-minute warm-up.
I think this is teasing, because I reckon the sun is shining back through over here. All of a sudden, it's like someone's put a torch through our window. So those few spots of rain, I don't think are going to amount to much. But let us see, because we have something like 20 minutes before the last car is due on track. As you know about Spa, anything could happen here. And they're looking out into the forests. That's over at the far part of the circuit, down towards the campus building there. That's the foot of Eau Rouge, where it's committed enough, even in the dry, never mind in the wet. That's the Aston Martin Nicky Team will be behind the wheel of. And it is now Philip Ellis that's got to be out on track pretty shortly.
Really enjoy watching Nicky Team driving here at Spa. Remember, I noticed him about 4 or 5 years ago when he was in an Audi. Was absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure this year in the Aston Martin he will thrill equally.
So away goes Philip Ellis then. As I said earlier on, you get your out lap, 2 flying laps, and you take the quicker of them. It's not a combined time, it is the quicker of those 2 laps and then an in lap. So this is where you've got to get everything up to temperature, discover exactly what the track conditions are like, and then you get 2 chances. And if track conditions are changing, either for the better or for the worse, then they could be very different lap times. Quite often we see the better time set on the first. It doesn't always follow that it's the second lap that is the better, but let us see. As Philip Ellis then sets off downhill, recent DTM race winner. He's been busy today in the Fanatec GT Esports Pro Series race at the Fanatec Arena, and Philip Ellis heads downhill with the road looking dry enough.
Well, so far, no unpleasant surprises for Philip Ellis as he comes down the hill and then prepares to go into Pouhon. So ordinarily, as you pointed out, David, I would expect, apart from maybe a misjudgment or an error behind the wheel, that the first flying lap is going to be the lap that should be the quicker of the two. And because the ambient temperature is actually still very comfortable, high teens, low 20s, and track temperature probably not much different, sun has come back out again. So any concerns that the track might throw up a nasty surprise at any given point around the 7 kilometers, it looks right now to be absolutely perfect condition for the top 20 shootouts.
A low 218.3 would be good as a target from what Raffaele Marciello did yesterday. So 218.31 or 3.0 even better, as up now towards the end of the outlap comes Philippe Ellis. All the eyes are on him to see, first of all, what time he can do on that first flying lap, the first of the two, but also what the road is like and where the car's got grip.
Look what he did in the chicane. He got the car tight to the right, then straight lined across the apex of turn 19 to get maximum drive across the start-finish line to start this run. 2 timed laps and into La Source. All looks good. No movement from the car. I talk about compliance, David, when you're driving a racing car, albeit this is a qualifying setup rather than a race setup. But likewise, when you get to the very edge of adhesion and grip and balance, you still want a degree of compliance with you. You can live with it maybe for a lap if it's a nervy, twitchy race car, but right now, that Mercedes looks absolutely with the driver 100%.
And for the only time, really, this weekend, a driver has the road to himself.
More or less, unless something goes wrong. But right now, you're right, there's going to be a clear lap. For some drivers, this will be the only time in the top 20 they've seen a clear lap at Spa over, what, 3 days of running.
Now, Ben Barnicoat is out on track, and also so is Laurens Vanthoor, who's just going down towards Pouhon. So they are on their outlaps. The cars go at 1 minute intervals. So there is Ben Barnicoat onto his flying lap now. So it's as much about the sectors as ever. Just to make the point, the 3 sectors we talk about, the first of them finishes just before Les Combes at the top of the hill. The second sector finishes between Campus and Cours Paul Frere down at the foot of the circuit. And of course, the third sector ends on the timing line. So Philippe Ellis here is in sector 2. And of course, he has done the absolute best because he's the first to go.
So into Fagnes, or flip-flop, and look at much the track even just picking up little residue of dust that's been kicked on by the finishers in the warm-up session. Down now into Campos. Don't overrun the curb, don't get into the gravel on the outside of the corner, get the nose into Stavelot and then run the car. Very nice indeed. I mean, if you're giving him scores for style,
Current
10
lap
out of
time
10.
57 cancelled track limits.
So the lap that Philippe Ellis is on, cancelled because of abusing track limits, says Alain Adon. Now, that's something else we haven't yet factored in, that if you go the wrong side of the white line, the lap you're on disappears, so you've got to go careful. But now Ellis has got 1 shot at this, not 2.
I hope the team are on the radio saying, don't abuse track limits because you've blown your first lap, your first chance, your freshest rubber. Comes across start-finish line. Curious to see what that time will be. It's a 2:20, so I suspect that would not have been a provisional pole time. He's got to go again. He's got 1 more chance, as you watch Ben Barnicoat down. Hasn't got purple.
No, he hasn't. But that lap time taken off Philippe Ellis. The corner at which he was abusing the track limits, turn 9, that's Speaker's Corner, the left as you go down the hill. So there's Ben Barnicoat then, accelerating towards Paul Frere Courbe. He does go purple in the middle. This is looking good for the McLaren.
And good out of Paul Frere Courbe.
Car 38. Current lap time cancelled. Track limits turn 9.
Same place, Speaker's Corner,
Yeah.
down the hill.
I mean, they've only been here for 2 and a bit days running around, plus whatever else testing was done earlier in June. So 2 drivers on their first flying laps have had their lap times cancelled. I tell you what, there's going to be more trapping between radio and driver.
And Laurens Vanthoor off the road because he had a big wobble.
Forget it. Slow down, Laurens. Your time's going to be cancelled. Slow down.
Way out over the curve goes Laurens Vanthoor. That was having a moment rather than just running wide for the sake of it. Have a look at this. Let's look at this one. Yeah, he got it sideways, but he's off the road.
I mean, not lucky he wasn't in the wall because the back end broke away. So I would be, if I was the team, get on the radio, slow down. Do not run your tyres too hard because you've got to go again. You've got a 1-lap shot. So Philippe Ellis, so this is 87 now.
Yeah, that's Thomas Drouet for ACA ASP. The Windward Racing Mercedes was the one that Philippe Ellis set off in. Also out on track now is Nico Müller. So we know of at least 2 that have had a lap time cancel. We're waiting to learn more about Laurens Vanthoor, who is making his way up towards Blanchiment, and as yet no noise from race control to say this one has been cancelled, but let us see. So Laurens Vanthoor, even though he was way over the curve, it was an error rather than running wide just for trying to gain an advantage. That might be the difference, but we'll wait and hear from race control. He's way up the curve there. So this is going to be the target time, really, isn't it? As the first one that might stand. Up towards the line he comes. Ideally, he wanted 2:18, but he's way, way slower than that.
Yeah, 2:21.1. Mind you, purple sector in that last sector. So Laurens Vanthoor will now go again. So he currently has the quickest lap, but all the others are more or less. Barnicoat and Philomella's time is deleted.
So this is Thomas Drouet pressing on.
Last lap of car 47, cancelled, track limits in T9.
Merci Alain. Right. What we'll do is let you know if anybody doesn't exceed track limits. I suppose he was back to rights on that, even though it was a mistake. He was so far off the road that if the others were being penalised, he had to be.
Absolutely, 100%. It doesn't matter whether you made a mistake and that was the consequence, or you just simply overran the corner. You exceeded track limits. There's no differential. So rightly so. I mean, just rubs salt into the wound for Laurens Vanthoor, who was en route with a car that didn't have too much grip on the opening lap, and he paid the price.
Philippe Ellis did a 2:19.6, Thomas Drouet a 2:19.1, and Ben Barnicoat here has done 2 purples, and this lap has got to try and stand for him. So Ben Barnicoat needs to be within the white lines there. He's just about okay coming out of the chicane. That's turn 19. He breaks the beam and he goes fast. He's 2:18.5. That's good. 2:18.597.
Last lap 87, cancelled, track limits turn 17.
That's Thomas Drouet having a lap time taken off him. Turn 17 is Blanchiment.
I mean, turn 17, you get all 4 wheels off the road, you're in trouble anyway. So, first time we've seen somebody in the shootout get pinged for that part of the racetrack, so Drouet is going to have to go again, and that's a big...
Yeah.
I mean, this is Blanchiment. There you can see the Ferrari runs it perfectly, Alessandro Pierguidi, but you get 4 wheels across that demarcation, then that's where the penalty will come.
Up the curve goes Pierguidi. Now he's got to try and beat a 2:18.5. He's got another shot at it as well. Here he comes then, though this is the end of his first flying lap. Alessandro Pierguidi breaks the beam, goes second, 2:18.892. That's 0.295 of a second down, so not a bad lap by Alessandro. He's got another shot at it. Now this is one to watch, isn't it? Laurens Vanthoor, who has done personals but not absolutes in the sectors. 2:18.597 to beat. Again, the car looks a handful as he squirts it up onto the pit straight. Laurens Vanthoor, 19.7. That only puts him 4th.
I think Laurens Vanthoor will be disappointed with that lap time. The car does not look, or did not look, what I would consider to be giving the driver its best chance.
What about Nico Müller? Not purples, but green, so that's personal rather than absolute best. But this is his first shot. 2:18.5 is what he's aiming for. Into the chicane he comes. Second lap might be even better. A little bit of a twitch there as the car bounces its way through the chicane up towards the line. 17, 18, 19, 20. 5th fastest, but there's another lap for Nico Müller. This has got to be the good one. And here, Thomas Drouet, he's on it, and he has to be, because this is the one lap that counts for him. His last lap, his first lap was taken off him. And Thomas Drouet, again, that car doesn't look compliant, to use your word. It looks a bit of a handful.
I mean, the way some of these cars have been set up, comes across the line and stays in 3rd place. A setup will be a more nervy setup than a race setup. And what we saw in the 30-minute warm-up of the top 20 shootout, cars running in a pre-qualifying context. So Davide Riga up the hill in the Iron Lynx Ferrari, yeah, that's fine, no problem there in the exit of Blanchiment.
Down to the chicane then, hard on the brakes, down through the gears, fight it in, aim for the clipping point, turn right, turn left, onto the power now, don't go too wide, that's okay, 2 wheels up the curb and onto the green, over the timing line, 4th quickest goes Davide Rigon, 2:19.338.
Current lap time, car 51, cancelled, track limits turn 9.
Alessandro Pierguidi had gone 2nd quickest, he's had that time deleted. So where is he going to finish up there?
Well, it's the lap he's on that's been deleted, so he's got to rely on his first. So the current lap time is deleted, yeah. So the first one is okay, the second one doesn't matter.
Felipe Fraga.
So 4/10 away in the first, half a second down in the second sectors. But Felipe Fraga, who's done quite a few laps around here, we've seen him as a regular in the TotalEnergies Spa 24 Hours. It comes towards Blanchimont now. So Felipe Fraga in the ACA ASP car. He's the 8th to go. Riccardo Feller, Mirko Bortolotti, Jack Aitken, they're all out there as well.
Riccardo Feller was absolutely stellar in the warm-up. Again, the car looked a very nervy, twitchy car, but the time came. Felipe Fraga clean out of that final turn. 2:19. Well, again, disappointment. Puts him 5th quickest.
Now this is Nico Müller bouncing it over the curbs. He's gone quicker on his second lap than his first, but is it enough? 2:18.5 to beat, and it is not going to be third. He moves up to third then, but Nico Müller 2 minutes 19.223 in the WRT Round Audi.
So far, it's been a rather unpredictable top 20 shootout. Some of the cars that we anticipated being further up have been pinged for their indiscretions. We go back to the Ferrari. Davide Rigon comes through. Watch the exit. Certainly be looked at.
Nico Müller is the first driver to do 2 laps that have stood. Incidentally, everybody else ahead of him that ran before him, therefore, had at least one taken off them. Davide Rigon.
Current lap time car 71 cancelled. Track limits turn 9.
Right,
Davide Rigon.
Another one gone. That was at Speaker's Corner. Mirko Bortolotti, by the way, has got a lap taken off him. And I told you about Pierre Guidi as well, I think I had. Right, so Davide Rigon, this lap isn't going to do anything. And Mirko Bortolotti's first flying lap isn't going to stand for anything. This is it. But again, I think turn 9 has been where he has transgressed. So even before he's halfway around the lap, it's a wasted lap.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because he's got purple in it.
Absolutely. So I don't know, when you get that, I mean, I'm assuming the teams are quickly on the radio to say to their drivers, your time has been deleted. So there's not a huge amount of point finishing the lap absolutely on the limit as we watch Felipe Fraga once again down at the lower part of the circuit. Personal improvement.
Riccardo Feller, by the way, has gone third fastest for Emil Frey Racing, 2 minutes 19.088. Felipe Fraga, a best in the middle, so it's looking quite good all of a sudden for the Mercedes.
They've just got to keep it together coming into Blanchimont. Do not overrun the exit of the corner. It's very easily done, so uses lots of road on the way in, and that's the perfect exit. Absolutely fine for Felipe Fraga.
Mirko Bortolotti.
Car 163, current lap time cancelled. Track limits turn 1.
Right, that's Albert Costa at the source. Mirko Bortolotti would have gone second, but the lap was taken off him for abusing track limits. Felipe Fraga comes up towards the timing line, and that puts him second fastest. That's a good effort, a 2:18.7.
Very good indeed. And I mean, it's just, I've never known a qualifying session, a top 20 shootout, where we're now seeing, and I agree with those principle of pinging a lap time if there's a track limit abuse. But of course, for teams doing a 2-lap shootout, they've got a different focus.
And these penalties are coming from the race director this year, not from the stewards. It's a faster process that Alain Adam, as the race director, can say, that's wrong, penalty straight away. Doesn't have to go to the stewards and be discussed. Jack Aitken comes across the line and goes third. That's good. Jack Aitken then, 2:18.767. This is Riccardo Feller's second lap. He's down to 5th in the times, looks a little bit scrappy into the chicane, heading towards the line now then, onto the power. So his first lap was a 2:19.088, and that's top of the times, 2:18.561. Riccardo Feller by 36 thousandths, pips Ben Barnicoat.
The boy's been on it. He's on it during the warm-up. He's
Current
on it.
lap time 1:14 cancelled. Track limits turn 1. Current lap time 1:14 cancelled. Track limits turn 1.
That's Jack Aitken's second flying lap, therefore.
So Riccardo Alberto Costa gets it fine out of Blanchimont up the hill. Personal best, sector 1, sector 2. Needs to find a 2:18.5 point something. Yes, 2:18.561. No, we ain't going to do it this lap.
No.
Not by country mileage, not. That's a disappointment for Albert Costa.
It is, isn't it? Because that will put him down the order, and that lap has not come up either. So I think he's had both of them taken off him. Not seen it on the timing screen with a penalty line, but Albert Costa's lap time didn't come up. Mirko Bortolotti through, goes fastest. 2:18.252, really good effort.
There is redemption after all.
It's great.
So Mirko Bortolotti secures that provisional pole as we see the 89 Mercedes Felipe Fraga. This lap you can see he's 3 seconds down in the first sector, 6 seconds down in the second sector. Well, he needs to get a bit of a move on because they've got the Martini Porsche Mathieu Jaminet pounding up. So let's have a look and see, can Jaminet suddenly elevate the Porsche into the top, well, the top 2 rows of the grid?
He certainly elevated over the curbs, didn't he? As he rattled it through the chicane there. So where will this put him? It's looking okay. 7th, 2:19.122, Mathieu Jaminet. This is Jack Aitken, but this lap is cancelled because he ran wide at La Source, which is a real shame because it was the absolute best in the middle. The Albert Costa saga we need to get to the bottom of because neither lap time has come up. Jack Aitken fastest, but doesn't do him any good.
That's a shame. That was a great lap, but of course if you overrun on the exit of any of the 7, 8 or 19 corners round here, that will be a penalty. So what's the Bentley going to do? Fastest sector, but not a big surprise. All that climb up the hill into Les Coupes.
Makes a great noise, doesn't it, the Bentley, as it pounds past us up towards Blanchimont.
It doesn't whine, does it?
No, no. It's a shame that we've only got the one Bentley, but Pierre-Alexandre Jean has been really quick when we first saw him in GT4, as well as in GT3 machinery. The CMR squad operating this car really well, and this has got to try and beat a 2:18.2. It's going to be close. He comes up towards the line in the end of 2:19.1, so 7th fastest.
I thought it was going to be a better time. I thought when they got to those last 2 turns, it might have actually been a time that challenges the provisional front row of the grid not to be. So Albert Costa comes up to complete his final lap.
Yes, I was getting ahead of myself. He was still on his first lap, wasn't he, when he was transgressing? So that's the second. That gives him 11th fastest. That was the one that did stay within track limits. So that's Thomas Neubauer at work in the BMW number 35. Things have calmed down in track limit land, relatively speaking, of late. The message has got through to the later runners.
I think it has, because you blow one lap and, you know, is it worth it or not? So everybody now may be a little bit more circumspect about how much track they use as the BMW exits and the Porsche climbs up the hill. So Jaminet comes into Blanchimont, doesn't use as much of the track on the right-hand side. Again, a good clean exit for the Porsche.
He's quicker than he was first time around. The Bentley has done another absolute best in the first sector on its second lap. Jaminet, again, uses so much curb, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a hop, skip and a jump over the first part of the turn 18-19 complex.
18s he needs, and it's 18.7 to go full fastest. Mathieu Jaminet, 4th fastest, number 22 Porsche, and this, number 34 BMW, is Sheldon van der Linde. Teammate David Pittard won the Fanatec Esports Pro Series GT race earlier on today. Sheldon van der Linde aiming for a 2:18.2 or better.
All looks very much in control. Hard on the brakes and swing it in. Don't take as much curve as this one. Jaminet took a lot more. Certainly it unsettled the Porsche, whereas the BMW seemed to ride that slightly more easily. Comes across the line.
3rd fastest, 2:18.590. So Sheldon van der Linde survives. 3rd quickest. This is the 2nd lap from the Bentley in the hands of Pierre-Alexandre Jean, down in the middle sector, as you can see. So again, it's so strong up the Kemmel Straight through Raidillon, but not so good in the twiddly bits. 9th he was at the start of the lap. Towards the beam he comes, crosses the stripe, and Pierre-Alexandre Jean gains a place provisionally. 8th he goes.
Yeah, it's amazing just the amount of time in that middle sector the Bentley appeared to lose. Now that may not be, could have been an error on the part of Maro Engel now in the number 4 Mercedes. Personal best, as you'd imagine, but whether it'll be sufficient to put
Pit
this
exit
car.
of car 95 under investigation.
So 95 is Nicky Team's Aston Martin, and that is being investigated.
Haven't seen him yet, but obviously out on track and potentially could be penalised.
If you go out too late, then you are running the risk of having your run annulled. So depending on how late out he was, potentially that's the issue, but the pit exit time will be under observation from the officials. Right, Thomas Neubauer comes towards the line. His first lap was a 2:21.807, so this moves him up to 11th fastest on a 2:19.011.
At the end of the day, I suppose he'll be satisfied, but would have preferred to have done better. To be in the top 10 is always a nice accolade. Matteo Drudi.
We've also had Maro Engel go 7th, by the way, on his first flying lap, and this is Drudi up through Blanchimont. This is his first flyer, and he's is about 8/10 down in the first sector, so I think he's building up to a quick second one, but he's got traffic ahead of him, flashing the lights.
Traffic?
A car.
There shouldn't be traffic at this phase, but
Well,
anyway.
there he is, just going for the pit lane.
Yeah.
So Matthew Drudy happy that the road is now clear. And here he comes up towards the timing line. Where, what's that going to do? 5th quickest, 2:18.6.
Yeah, good run from Matteo Drudy to get the Audi. The lead Audi currently, was the favourite Audi, the 32, was unable to get through into the top 20. It didn't even get through into the top
50,
40,
yeah,
50.
Awful, because it missed a time in Q2, so it completely destroyed the average. Now this is Maro Engel's second lap, and this is Nicky Thiem's first. It might end up being all rather futile, given that the pit exit is being investigated by race control, but Nicky Thiem for the moment then is pressing on.
As he does. I'd really enjoy watching Nicky Thiem behind the wheel of a race car. He is all the things one presumes a racing driver should be.
Exactly. Out of Blanchimont then. So he's got to be in the 2:18s. A 2:17 would be absolutely magic right now. Into the braking zone for the chicane he comes. Looks pretty good through there. Doesn't use as much curb as others, but as he comes towards the line, is it going to be quick enough? 15, 16, 17, 18 to the beam. And 18.8, only 10th fastest, but he's got one more shot.
Maro Engel's gone purple in sector 2.
Here is Maro Engel. So an 18.2 to beat. It's going to be close as he comes up towards the line. Maro Engel does a 2:18.5 to go second fastest then. The Mercedes second, but it's Mirko Bortolotti still hanging on a pole position. But, Raffaele Marciello is out on track, and he is on his first of 2 flying laps.
Oh, look, purple in that middle sector. Now he's got to climb the hill, not put 4 wheels off on the exit of Blanchimont. Don't make a mistake in that
Current
final.
lap car 66 cancelled, track limits turn 9. Current lap 66 cancelled, track limits turn 9.
Right, that's Matthew Drudy, so he's got to rely on his first lap, which is 6th at best. This is Marciello into the chicane. It looks good, heading towards the timing line now. So a 2:18.252 remains the best, and is it about to be beaten? It is! A 2:17.949. Raffaele Marciello by 0.3 of a second goes to the top. Mega effort.
And I suspect he's not put that provisional pole position into a pole position. I don't see anybody managing to find a way of deposing Raffaele Marciello is on a start. It didn't look particularly good in turn 18 and 19, but it was neat and tidy. That's all that matters.
Now this is Nicky Thiem to see what he can do. A 2:17 to beat, kicks up the dust, and he's way wide there, isn't he, coming out of the pith path. But Nicky Thiem presses on at the moment. He's only 11th. He was slightly quicker on this second lap within sector 1. He comes up through the Paul Frere now. Again, he's quicker, but he's about 4/10 down on Marciello. So even though Thiem is going better, he's not going better than Marciello.
No, I mean, that was a very clean lap from Marciello. Normally, he's very exuberant behind the wheel, but he contained his enthusiasm because he knew if he made a clean lap all through the 19 turns here in Spa, he had a very good chance of taking that provisional pole. And I think there's almost a done deal. Nicky Thiem overruns on the exit of 18, compromises the switch back to 19, so that'll have a bearing on his overall time. Comes across the line. Still a good effort.
It is.
Second row of the grid, so good effort by Nicky Thiem in spite of maybe losing a 10th here in that last sequence.
So up from 11th to 3rd then. But Raffaele Marciello it is that tops Super Pole. And the WRT and ACCA squads will be studying different results over the course of qualifying. ACCA starting at the front, WRC starting at the back, but Raffaele Marciello has got one more shot. Don't forget, he could even go faster. 2:17.9. Look, he has in the middle sector. So Raffaele Marciello, he's already on provisional pole position. Can he go even faster? What about a 2:17.8? Is that asking too much?
This is a lap for Marciello. The first lap secured pole position. This is one for him to be flamboyant, and he is on the exit of Blanchimont. Just about kept the 4 wheels, or 2 of the 4 wheels, on the racetrack. So what's he going to do through here? Not too aggressive in the turn in, gets the switch back. All looks very measured, very controlled. So this could see a fractional improvement
Up to the line, it's slightly slower, a 2:18.1, but even so, Raffaele Marciello takes pole position. And
Last lap car 88 cancelled, track limits T19.
Well, it was a good job that the first one stood there for, wasn't it? So I was going to say that second lap of Marciello was still quicker than anybody else's, but it doesn't matter because it's taken off him. So Raffaele Marciello takes pole position and take the talking points out of that, the pace of the Mercedes and track limit abuse again.
Track limit abuse has dominated the top 20 shootout. Every driver in the field, they know that if they transgress, they're going to get that time deleted. So Marciello did it when it mattered on the first flying lap, just fractionally too wide in the exit of turn 19 on the second. And anyway, as you point out, David, that time was marginally down on us. So he's a happy camper, and so will ASP.
20 drivers went, and 11 of them had a time disallowed.
But I suppose you have to say it's consistent.
True enough. Alain Adon standing no messing straight away. He's on the radio, isn't he? Time disallowed, time disallowed. Jules Gounon amongst those celebrating there in the ASP garage. So it is Raffaele Marciello who goes top at the end of Superpole, provisionally to determine the front 10 rows of the grid. Let's look at the order then. Raffaele Marciello, 2 minutes 17.949. Second quickest, Mirko Bortolotti in the Orange One FFF Lamborghini from Nicky Tim's Aston Martin. Mauro Engel fourth ahead of Ricardo Feller and Sheldon van der Linde. Ben Barnicoat seventh, so big gain for him because he was, 19th yesterday. Then 8th Matteo Drudi, 9th Matteo Jaminet, 10th Felipe Fraga from Jack Aitken and Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Alessandro Pierguidi 13th, Thomas Neubauer 14th, Nico Müller 15th, a bit further back than you might have expected that. Thomas Drouet 16th, Albert Costa only 17th from Davide Rigon, Philip Ellis 19th, and slowest, can you believe it, not a sentence we often use, slowest, Laurence Vanthoor. So he is 20th in the times, but it's Raffaele Marciello then who can go home happy. He has put the car onto the top of the times thanks to his first lap in Superpole, and a good job it was done on the first. The second lap being taken off him for track limit infringement. So the drivers now making their way to the team. The car's in Parc Fermé conditions. And there is Nicky Tim. The pit exit still being looked at, so that might be a story that rumbles on, but more news will be on the GT World Challenge Europe website, and if there is a story behind it, we'll explain more tomorrow. Nicky Tim heads down the pit road. Third then, starting on the second row of the grid. There is Raffaele Marciello making his way now into Parc Fermé, and we might be able to grab a word with Raffaele about what has been a very good session there for him. So he will in a moment jump out of the car. There he is, and Raffaele Marciello, 2 minutes 17.949, 3/10 of a second quicker than anybody else. That's a mighty effort. I know it's a long lap, 7 kilometres long this circuit, but even so, that's a really, really committed lap from the factory Mercedes driver. So there is Raffaele, and Mirko Bortolotti saying well done, even though he is the vanquished. He's going to be on the outside of the front row of the grid. The race starts, of course, opposite the endurance pits, the traditional start down the hill towards Eau Rouge. That's where the grid will be formed, with the teams making their way there. But there is Raffaele Marciello, then the man of the moment, mask on, helmet off, and Raffaele Marciello posing for the cameras. And in a moment, once he's done, we might be able to persuade him to head our way, but there he is. There's a big smile under that mask. And the pole position driver will step forward in a moment. And let's grab a word if we can, because Gemma Scott is down there.
Raffaele, you look very calm, but that was an incredible time right at the last moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to start on pole, even if it doesn't mean anything. I mean, we saw last year it's 24-hour race. I don't think other brands fully push. I mean, we saw yesterday lap time in Q3, Q4, but I mean, it's a nice feeling to start in front. The target was to be in top 5, to be out of the trouble at the beginning, and then, yeah, we have to try to be clean for the race.
And now, of course, the target is to smash things through for the 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 24-hour race. There is a lot to do. The weather for sure will be a bit strange and crazy, but I mean, we're here for win. We have a great team, a great car. mega teammates. So yeah, we have to finish the job, but it's really tough and everyone wants to win.
Everything to play for. Well done.
Thank you.
It was a good lap, and they're always great to watch, aren't they? Not just Raffaele laps, but anybody's laps around here, because you can look at them in isolation and piece that lap together. Committed effort.
Yeah, I mean, he's always exciting to watch. Sometimes he gets overexcited, but today was a very controlled, a very calm, almost placid Raffaele Marcello in the interview with Gemma Scott, and did what he needed to do. A thoroughly professional lap. Thought it through, worked it out, clipped all the points on the circuit he needed to clip. Of course, except on his second lap, when he overclipped, as they say.
Indeed so. What about Mirko Bortolotti's feelings on this? He was on pole for so long, he's ended up second. Is he happy or not, Gemma?
Mirko absolutely flying out there. It wasn't quite enough, but it's certainly a fantastic pace that you've got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on one side quite happy. Left absolutely nothing on the line there on that lap, honestly, and absolute maximum. Huge thanks to the team for a great job, for the trust, putting me in that session. So I tried to do my best, and quite happy with the lap, as I said. It's a bit bittersweet because after being second in 2016 and second in 2017, it's not the best place to be again, but it's a great place to be for the start of the race. It's just such a long race, and we have a really strong team and have really strong teammates, so we're really looking forward to the race.
Certainly looks like it could be Lambo's year.
Hopefully.
Thanks, Mirko.
Lamborghini deserving of a bit of luck. Remember leading last year when the car crashed out, not with Mirko at the wheel of it. There is Jules Gounod, who's part of that ASP squad, and getting everybody together. Danny Cadea is there as well, so all smiles. Danny having been busy on esports duty for the team earlier on, and got to say that ACA ASP team is looking mighty strong going into tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw today was an individual, a virtuoso performance from Raffaele Marcello. What we'll see tomorrow is then the role of the team becoming the preeminent quality and important element of the 24 hours here at Spa-Francorchamps, because whatever one driver does, he's got 23 hours and 59 minutes and whatever.
Now let's just look back at the Superpole session, try and piece it all together. The first one out was Philip Ellis, who in the end was 19th fastest. He was not only the first man to go, but the first man to lose a lap time, because the track limit penalties came thick and they came fast. Laurence Vanthor was another driver for that moment down the Speaker's Corner to lose a lap. Ben Barnicoat lost his first, but in the end was able to improve to go 7th. So he was one of the big winners out of Superpole, because he had been 19th overnight. Number 14 was being hustled along by Riccardo Feller. He was up from 12th to 5th by the end of the session. Mirko Bortolotti was quickest. Again, he was a driver that lost the lap time, but he was fastest for much of the period. And again, that's a car that had worked its way forward, given where it was yesterday at the end of the combined qualifying, because it was 11th, and now it's second on the grid. Number 34 BMW, Sheldon van der Linde was 5th. He's ended up 6th. Mauro Engel ended up 4th, and that was 4th on the average yesterday. But Raffaele Marcello was the man. He did it all on his first lap, and Andrea Caldarelli not impressed to see his car lose its time. Delight at ACA ASP, but then, of course, its second lap taken away for track limit infringements. 12th from the Bentley, another really impressive job done by Pierre-Alexandre Jean.
Pierre, the class battles are going to be absolutely incredible. 4 silver cars now in the top 10 there.
Yeah, definitely. At only 20 years old, for sure, it was nice to make my first Super Pole. It's a nice experience. For sure, I would have expected a bit better, but that's like this. The guys in front did some crazy laps. So great experience, and I hope for great battles tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a great race.
Thank you.
It'd be really good to see that Bentley get through and do well in its class, wouldn't it? Because no matter which team has run them, they've always seemed to have bad luck here.
Yes, I mean, sometimes it's been things beyond the control of the team, but other times it's been down to the technical side, and it's a great brand, it's a great car. Everybody, I think, would love to see Bentley succeeding, particularly in the Silver Cup. But as we say, 24 hours is a very long time, and one little stupid mistake on the racetrack, or one badly fluffed pit stop, or miscuing, all those errors need to be ironed out before you get to the start tomorrow afternoon.
Well, the one thing that might confuse the situation is number 95's pit exit being under investigation. You are given a tolerance to your exit time. They are given a minute. Each car goes at 1 minute intervals. There is a little bit of grace either side of that, but if you go out too late, that might well get you in trouble. We'll concentrate on that later. Mauro Engel, though, is at the moment with Gemma.
Mauro, the smile is evident there. A fantastic qualifying for you, fantastic Super Pole.
Yeah, it was a good Super Bowl. I mean, the smile is mainly because it's just always awesome to drive this circuit with low fuel, new tires, and 2 clear laps. It's always a pleasure. The team gave me a very good car. P4, I think, is a strong result. Made a small mistake in the last chicane there, which cost us probably P3, but overall I think it's a good place to start the 24-hour race, and yeah, now I'm looking forward to the big one.
And even that session showed us that track limits are going to be seriously something to look at this weekend.
Yeah, no, I can only applaud the race director and his crew, because I think it's good if if they take it serious. Everyone knows that's the limit, and I think everyone will adapt and stick to track limits.
Well done, thank you very much.
So Raffaele Marciello takes pole position. John, quick thought on what we've just witnessed.
We saw a lot of drivers who shouldn't have been making mistakes on their out lap, particularly making mistakes and compromising themselves. But we've got a great pole sitter. Raffaele Marciello did what he had to do on that first flying lap, got the job done. He made a mistake second lap, didn't matter.
Absolutely. Raffaele Marciello is the man of the moment, and it is Mirko Bortolotti, Mauro Engel, and then Riccardo Feller who are behind him. The times have just shuffled on our screen. Nicky Thiem has been pushed down to 8th fastest, so I think there is a bit more lurking in the system about that, but we will await more news. But Raffaele Marciello's pole position lap then, 2 minutes 17.949 is what has given him the provisional pole position going into the TotalEnergies Spa 24 hours tomorrow. Join us for what promises to be a fantastic race. From Gemma Scott, from John Watson, and from me, David Addison. Thanks for your company today. Get yourself ready for the biggest and best GT3 race in the world tomorrow. Bye for now.